Before the world knew her as a wartime inventor, Hedy Lamarr was a Hollywood legend. She was famous not just because of her beauty, but also for the men she seduced, the husbands she left, and the wild reputation she could never shake off. A genius wrapped in a bombshell's body, Hedy had a sexual history that Hollywood tried to tame but never could. This is the true story of Hedy Lamarr's scandalous love life.
Before she became the legendary Hedy Lamarr, she was Hedwig Eva Maria Kiesler, an aspiring teenage Austrian actress who had no clue she would become an international screen goddess with a single film. It was the 1993 movie Ecstasy that completely changed her world. Hedy was just 18 when she appeared on camera in scenes that were nothing but scandalous back then, though by today's standards it would be called normal. There was a shot of her face, deep set in pleasure, in a sick scene. In another scene, she was running through a forest without clothes. It was nothing explicit, but just enough to set Europe on fire and get the film banned in America.
The negative reactions didn't stop there. The Pope denounced the nature of the movie in the Vatican newspaper. Conservative women's groups condemned the indecency Hedy portrayed, and Adolf Hitler banned the movie from airing in Germany. The then young Hedy later claimed she was tricked, saying the close-up shots of her were taken with a long lens and she wasn't aware. Her director countered the claims, but the damage was done. She was now the world's newest queen, and she had not even made it to Hollywood yet.
That same year, Hedy's personal life took a dramatic turn. She got married to Friedrich Mandl, a wealthy Austrian arms manufacturer who was nearly twice her age. She was 18 while he was 33. Friedrich was rich, sophisticated, and deeply into politics. He even had connections to Mussolini and Hitler. This made Hedy's Jewish parents object to their relationship. It suffocated the life out of her. Her husband was uncomfortable with her role in Ecstasy and tried to stop the film from circulating further by buying up as many copies as he could find in the market. He locked Hedy in their estate and forbade her from acting. When she had to go out, he ensured a maid followed her to keep an eye on her, and he closely monitored her phone calls. Even worse, he restricted her access to jewelry. She later wrote about his possessiveness in her diary. "I knew very soon that I could never be an actress while I was his wife. He was the absolute monarch in his marriage. I was like a doll, I was like a thing, some object of art which had to be guarded and imprisoned, having no mind, no life of its own." After 4 years of being a prisoner in marriage, Hedy snapped. At a party, she asked a British officer for help escaping. Her husband had bugged her entire room and she knew, but still took the risk and acted as fast as she could. Hedy escaped in disguise. She sewed her jewels into a maid's uniform, put it on, and walked out the front door. She was gone before anyone could notice. When she arrived in London, she crossed paths with the head of MGM, Louis B. Mayer. He offered her a modest contract of $125 a week, but she said no. After she realized that she might have blown her shot, she decided to make a bold move by posing as a babysitter as she boarded the ocean liner Louis, which was headed for New York.
By the time they docked, Hedy had managed to charm Louis into giving her a $550 a week offer. Mayer suggested she change her name so that she won't be easily linked to Ecstasy. From then on, she became Hedy Lamarr, named after Mayer's wife's favorite film star, Barbara Lamarr. In 1938, Hedy starred in the movie Algiers, and Hollywood was charmed. MGM promoted her as a very popular Austrian actress and the most beautiful woman in the world. Hedy didn't just look good facially on camera, she also took everybody's breath away with her raunchy moments. Off-screen, Hedy's lovers had begun to line up. The first major name to date her was Charles K. Feldman, a top-tier agent and producer. They dated briefly in 1938, and during this period, Feldman helped her land big roles. He was obsessed, but Hedy didn't stay long, as he had already served his purpose and she had her eyes on something or someone else. In 1939, Hedy married Gene Markey, a screenwriter and producer, but their marriage was short and cold, and they eventually divorced after 3 years. During their time together, they adopted a son called James. People did not know that she was not his biological mother until after she publicly revealed that she was not. And just as things fell off with Gene, Hedy also grew apart from James when he was 12, and they never reconciled. When she finally passed away decades later, she left him out of her will entirely. In the meantime, she burned through affairs like a woman on fire. There was Clark Gable, who starred alongside Hedy in the movie Boomtown in 1940. Their chemistry was explosive, and rumors began to spread about an affair that had progressed from set to real life. But Clark was married to Carol Lombard, and Hedy was still with Gene at the time, so they quickly ended their romance to stop the gossip.
Charlie Chaplin, the silent film star, was also linked with the enchanting actress that same year. Charlie, who was known for his peculiar taste for beautiful young women, probably couldn't resist her. Both of them were constantly seen together, but nothing public came from it. Many believe all they had was just a brief, passionate affair. Then, in the late 1940s, she briefly got involved with Farley Granger, who was famous back then for his own complicated sexual identity. In fact, he got entangled with Hedy just before having a short fling with Bruce Cabot, a well-known actor. Bruce was rough-edged, handsome, and mad about Hedy, but like many others, he couldn't hold her attention for long. A year after Hedy and Bruce separated, she got involved with Franchot Tone. They were introduced by friends at a Hollywood event, and they fell for each other on the spot. After that, they were often seen going for dinners and walking arm in arm whenever they attended social gatherings together. Their romance fizzled out quickly in a short time. In 1942, Hedy briefly dated Burgess Meredith before moving on to Hollywood's bad boy, Errol Flynn, in one of her steamiest affairs so far. They met on the set of Crossroads, and their on-screen chemistry spilled over into real life. The tabloids had a field day with the news, and for good reason. Flynn was notorious for his womanizing, and Hedy was a challenge he couldn't resist. Their romance was hot but brief. It ended as quickly as it began. In 1943, Hedy married John Loder, a charming British actor. It was her third marriage. They had 2 children together, Denise and Anthony. This marriage was the most stable she had ever had. It lasted 4 years, but even while playing wife and mother, Hedy couldn't seem to shake the restlessness. She was also rumored to have shared flirty nights with David Niven, the famous British actor. Hedy herself agreed to the fact that she had more lovers than the gossip columns could track. She said, "My problem is I'm a hell of a nice dame. The most horrible horrors are famous. I did what I did for love. The others did it for money." By the 1950s, Hedy's career had begun to slow down, but her relationships hadn't. In a moment of passion in 1951, she married her 4th husband, Teddy Stauffer. He was a Swiss band leader who also owned a nightclub, and the relationship lasted less than a year. Up next was W. Howard Lee, a Texas oilman. They married in 1953. It was her longest marriage so far, lasting for 7 years. But even that couldn't keep Hedy satisfied. Lee eventually left her for another Hollywood beauty, Gene Tierney. In 1963, Hedy married Louis J. Boys, one of the lawyers she engaged when she wanted to divorce Howard Lee. But even that marriage barely made it to the 2nd year. By 1965, Hedy had gone through 6 husbands and countless love affairs. Hedy released a controversial autobiography, Ecstasy and Me, in 1966.
In it, she claimed to have had lesbian experiences, though she didn't name names. She simply said she had been with women and allowed the public to run wild with speculation. Larry King, a reporter who reviewed the book, commented, "If there is a sexually experience Ms. Lamarr has not partaken of, it belongs in the future tense." It was explosive at the time. Hedy never publicly elaborated, but it added a whole new layer to her persona, one that challenged the idea that she was just a man's fantasy. One of her final romances to make the headlines was with Billy Wilder, the popular Hollywood director. They were seen together in 1955, but they kept their relationship private. Other than the film projects they publicly worked on together, no one knew for sure what was going on between them. By the 1970s, Hedy had pulled away totally from the spotlight. No more red carpets, no more scandals. She lived alone, focusing on the inventions she left movies for and never remarried. Her final years were marked by a growing respect for the woman Hollywood had once dismissed. The same woman who once said, "Any girl can be glamorous. All you have to do is stand still and look stupid." Decades later, the world remembers her for her inventions as much as for her pretty face. She received a patent for the idea of a radio signaling device she worked on with her friend, George Antheil. Her story is often told as a prime example of beauty and brains. Hedy Lamarr is also the woman whose face inspired Disney artists to create Snow White.
If you enjoyed this video, there's a good chance you'll enjoy the one showing on your screen right now. Click, enjoy, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. See ya at the next one.